Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought we would have a conversation about a little bit of a weird subject, I suppose, although I think we can probably all sympathise with it, and that is the idea of having a favourite battle. Now, I say it's a bit weird because, you know, the battles aren't fun. They're not very nice places. You certainly wouldn't want to be in one. Those of you who have been in one, I'm sure you would not want to do it again. So, yeah, the very idea of having a favourite battle seems a little bit weird, but I think we've all got one. So the thing that really spurred me off to think about this and make this video was our good friend Richie Hall, the chap who is responsible for the craziness up in Morpeth of our 100 Days campaign. He posted up some pictures recently on his Facebook page of a Battle of Quatre Bras that he's done. Now, as far as I'm aware, that is at very least the 4th time he's fought that battle. And I mean, I fought it twice with him. So he's done it quite a few times, I think it's safe to say. I also think it's safe to say that this is probably his favourite battle. It's certainly his favourite campaign. So I thought what we'd look at is, what is it that makes a battle... Or, well, I guess I can only talk about it from my perspective. Hopefully you guys can add in the comments what it means to you. But what is it that makes a battle your favourite? Now, whenever I say favourite, I'm doing it in inverted commas. What is it that makes the battle your favourite? What is it you like about that? And what do you get out of playing it time and again? So I guess the first thing is going to be that it involves forces, armies, or personalities that you yourself are interested in. So for argument's sake, if you're interested in the Napoleonic British, then there's very little point in playing Borodino, I guess, is there? Unless, of course, you're just interested in the period more generally. But by and large, if you want to use the British, you're probably going to be looking at either the Peninsula or the 100 Days campaign. So that kind of narrows down where your focus is going to be right from the off there. So I suppose that's one aspect of it. And another one would be, your favourite personality. So for argument's sake, as you know, I'm a big fan of General LaSalle. He is the image of the channel. So there's very little point in me being super excited about a battle that took place after 1809, when he was tragically killed by that thrice accursed Hungarian grenadier. So having looked at our favourite army and our favourite personalities, the other thing could be our favourite, I guess the phrase would be our favourite set of tactics. So that's a little bit of a weird phrase. What I mean by that is, let's take the Austrians. So the Austrians, not great before 1805. Sorry, not great before 1809, not great in 1805. So we might say, well, I want to take an Austrian army, but I don't want a rubbish Austrian army, so I'm going to do 1809. Similarly, those of you who've been following the live streams will know that I'm doing a Spanish division, and I'm wanting to do the Spanish division of La Romana because they were the veterans of the campaign in Copenhagen. I consider them, they also had some training from the French army as well, so I consider them a cut above the regular Spanish troopers. Now, I don't particularly have that much interest in having an army that I don't think is going to perform that well on the tabletop. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to power game, but it's just a question of I don't want an army that's going to auto-lose as soon as I put it on the table as well. So that's why I quite like La Romana division. You can always fold them into a wider Spanish army, so you've got elements of it, aspects of it, that do better than others. I mean, that could be a potential sort of middle ground on that, I suppose. But yeah, so you can go within the armies as well. I mean, one of the great things about the Napoleonic period is there's so much variety, even within armies. I mean, those of you who've listened to or watched the series I did on the Prussian army will know that better than most. In that, they went from being almost a museum piece, a 7 Years' War era army, to being arguably the best army in the world, certainly the best army in the world by another 60, 70 years. Again, actually, maybe arguably, maybe the British were better. I'm not sure, but it's certainly an argument that can be made. Let's put it that way. So I guess the best place to start would be, what is my favourite battle and what makes it my, again, I'm using it in air quotes, favourite battle. And the images that you can see in this slideshow are just going to be sort of various paintings and things like that of the battles I would consider to be my favourite ones. Now, one of the ones that is I talk about quite a lot on this channel is the Battle of Aspern-Essling. Now, this has the 3 of the things that I talked about earlier on, or 4 actually. It's got some of my favourite personalities involved. So you've got D'Espagne, Marshal Lannes, General Lasalle, all these people. And you've also got some cool guys on the Austrian side as well. You've got people like Archduke Charles, and of course the Emperor Napoleon himself as well. And in fact, that's one of the other things that makes it my favourite battle, is it's the first battle that Napoleon lost. Now, you could argue whether he lost it or not, and I've sometimes rather controversially said that I consider it a score draw. But yeah, I think by and large we can agree that he in fact lost that battle. So that's the other thing that makes it interesting, is it's a change in the established order. It's what Dan Carlin would call a historical estuary. Now, he normally refers to like eras and epochs as being historical estuaries, but I think if we narrowly focus in on the 15 or so years of the Napoleonic Wars, then I think we can say that that was one of those historical estuaries. As I say, it was where Napoleon lost his... It was the first loss for Napoleon, if we're not including the Egyptian campaign, which, it's certainly his first loss as emperor. And that, for me, makes it interesting in of itself. Once you delve into that, that's the elevator pitch. That's the thing that gets you involved in that battle. The more you look, the more interesting it gets from my perspective. So for me, I really like it has a combination of fighting in built-up areas in the villages of Aspern and Essling. It's got the Austrian grenadiers launching assault after assault onto the Essling granary. So it's got all that good stuff. Then it's also got the deployment of the Young Guard. Now, I believe, and don't necessarily quote me on this, but I believe it was the first time that the Young Guard were sent into action. It's been quite a while since I did my my Young Guard video, so I can't exactly remember, but I'm fairly sure it was. And spoiler alert, you've got the death of Lannes, the death of D'Espagne, and it then goes on to setting up, really, the rest of the Danube campaign, which obviously ended at the Battle of Wagram. Now, weirdly, you might think, well, the Battle of Wagram is the culmination of the campaign, so that'll be the most interesting one, but not for me. For me, Aspern-Essling is more interesting than Wagram, although Wagram's, it's pretty interesting in of itself, but for me, it just doesn't have that extra thing that makes Aspern-Essling so great. Another battle I find incredibly interesting is the Battle of Salamanca. Now, again, we've spoken about this a few times. In fact, I've done a battle report on part of the Battle of Salamanca that I fought with General Dan. And the reason I like that one so much is it actually comes at the end of quite a long campaign of marching and counter-marching from the British and the French armies. But in this case, it's actually sort of an ambush. It's a bit weird, because the French are on top of a ridge and the British are ambushing them despite that. It's all a bit strange. But the thing I like the most about that is you're in Spain, so it's got that sort of, ruggedy, deserty type terrain. And the look of the battle is really good. The red coats against that, and the blue and white of the French against that sort of, I don't know what you'd really call it, scrubland, I guess. It just makes for a visually appealing battle. You've also got the hills as well, the I think it's the Apparils that they're on. Apologies for the terrible pronunciation there. But you've got a really good-looking battle there. Similarly with Aspern-Essling, you've got the 2 villagers at each end of the battle, so that increases the visual appeal of it. So I think it looks good. And the other thing that I really like about it, and this is more of a practical perspective, is, well, twofold. One, you can break it down into smaller engagements. So that's what I did with General Dan. We did the attack of the 3rd Division on the head of the French column. So not a good French column, a French march column. So you can either break it down that way, or you can just do the whole battle, actually. The battle itself, not that big, and because the French are marching and the British come from the flank, you can have a table where the French are moving along the long edge of the table, and the British come on from the other long edge. So it's actually quite easy to wargame as well. So while Aspern-Essling might be of the two might be my preferred battle, I think Salamanca would be my preferred one to wargame, just because I think practically it'd be quite a lot easier. All that said, Aspern-Essling wouldn't necessarily be particularly impossible either, if I'm entirely honest. Another issue that Wargaming Salamanca has over Aspern-Essling is you don't get all the super cool stuff. So I like my Cuirassiers, I like my Carabiniers, I like all that kind of good stuff. They're not in the Peninsula, but they are at Aspern-Essling. So that's another reason why I think I would prefer Aspern-Essling over Salamanca. So that's something that we didn't necessarily talk about at the beginning when selecting our favourite battles, and that's because I think it comes later after we've already started researching what is our favourite battle, and that is the practicality of playing the game. That's one of the great things with Waterloo, is that it's on a relatively small area. It's far more practical to wargame something like that in 20 mil. It's certainly more practical to wargame in the new Warlord Epic size, or maybe 10 mil or 6 mil. So it's quite simple from that perspective to wargame, but certainly more so than something like Leipzig would be, or Dresden, one of those huge European battles. Though, to be honest, any of these huge battles, they're probably going to be a club effort anyway. If it's not a formal club, maybe a group of friends will get together or something like that. And it could be that you don't necessarily want to wargame your favourite battle. It could be that it's just not practical, or that you can't really think of a way that you could get the battle to perform. I think finally as well, we need to look at the gaming aspect of the wargame, and that is to say that I think the best battles for wargaming are the ones which either side could win. So I think that makes Waterloo such a popular one, because it is one of those battles that was, to quote a phrase, a near-run thing. And that's the same with Aspern-Essling. I think that was very tight. And battles such as Borodino, I see that quite often. Things like that as well. Salamanca is a little bit of a different one, but there's not really much point in wargaming a battle that's going to be so completely one-sided that it's probably not actually going to be much of a game. So if you were to wargame, for argument's sake, Jena, you've got an absolutely humongous French army, way outnumbering the Prussians. They're better equipped, they're better trained, they're better led. There's just not really much point in wargaming, which is a real shame, because the 1806 Prussian army, as I've said before, is absolutely gorgeous. So you do have to look at the game aspect of the wargame as well, and make sure that it's going to be a suitable game that the two players can have fun. Now, that said, if you do want to wargame a one-sided affair, then it might be worth you, the person who's putting on the game, playing the army that's probably going to get stomped. So if you were desperate to play Jena, then you would probably be best off with the person who put on the game being the Prussians. The other difficulty is things that are famous examples in warfare. So a really good example would be if you were to refight the Battle of Cannae, then you probably wouldn't put all your weak... if you were the Romans, then you wouldn't just attack in the centre all the weak Gauls and all that stuff. So you're like, well, this is the Battle of Cannae, I know what happened at the Battle of Cannae, I'm not going to repeat those mistakes. When we refought the Battle of Waterloo up in Glasgow for the Great Game, I didn't attack Ugamar, for instance. We went through the gardens, we went around the other side, but we didn't attack the building itself because there just wasn't very much point, and because Andy had set it on fire as well. So that was also the other reason why we didn't bother attacking it. But yeah, no. So it's just one of those things where you've got to be aware that sometimes historical knowledge can be a bad thing, because it means that the battle that happened, you know the mistakes that were made, so you know not to make those mistakes again. And that's it, really. I just wanted to do a quick thing on just the weird concept that we have favourite battles and what that means for our war games. So what are your favourite battles? Why do you enjoy researching or wargaming certain ones? Are they the practical ones that you know you can crack out a game of? Are they the ones that are more aspirational? You're probably never going to get a chance to fight in a recreation of the Battle of Leipzig, but we can but dream, can't we? So you never know with these things. So what is it, what aspects go into making your favourite battle your favourite battle, and which are your favourite battles? I'd be really interested to learn those. But thanks for listening. Again, it's apologies for the dodgy audio. I'm hoping to be back up on my usual rig from next week. Just a couple of advance warnings as well. So next week there should be a video. The week after, so that's the week of Sunday the 17th, he said, convinced? Yep, Sunday the 17th. There won't be a video that week. I'm at a Warhammer tournament. We're going to Derby for that one. So I will be hitting up Board and Swords, though, who are a very, very keen store to start running some Napoleonic events. They ran a glorious first naval event recently that I've not really seen much of, but I'm told it went very well. So looking forward to that. And just to let you guys, give you some more advanced notice, I will be having August off. So there won't be any content in August, and that is to focus on doing some big projects that will hopefully come October, November. Now, I say there's going to be no content in August. That's not strictly true. I'll still be doing the Wednesday evening live streams. Now, I've got something on order from Amazon, which is going to be something a little bit different. We finished our first Spanish battalion. In that one, I've just started converting up the cavalry, but this is going to be a slight change from that. If it's what I think it is, it's a bit weird. I don't want to say too much. Hopefully, it'll be cool, though. Tune in this Wednesday to find out if it's what I thought it was, or if we're just cracking on with the Spanish cavalry. It hasn't arrived yet. I'm looking forward to getting it. But anyway, that's me waffling. Thank you very much for listening. Pop in the comments below your favourite battles, why they're your favourite battles, and which one you find the most aspirational, if they're not the same ones. And I'll see you guys next time.